PFF is running one of their biggest sales ever. 40% off a PFF Plus subscription right now using the promo code BLACKFRIDAY. That means that you get everything fully unlocked. You get the grades, you get the stats, you get all the fantasy advice, the betting advice, which our new player prop tool is available on web as well to make you a smarter, better. You've got all of the draft analysis, the free agency analysis, all of that great stuff. Subscribe.pff.com to get 40% off a year-long PFF Plus subscription. Get it now. Cardinals at the Bucs. The Bucs were able to still stay, what are they, half game above the Panthers. Yeah, because they got the bye week coming up with a 20-17 win over the Arizona Cardinals. The top 5 players that we had for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Offensive tackle Tristan Wirfs is at the top of the list with a 90.2 thanks to a receiving touchdown in this game. Edge rusher Logan Hall with an 89.9. Defensive tackle Vita Vea and a 79.6. Linebacker Yaya Diaby with a 77.7. And then offensive guard Ben Bredesen with a 75.2. Baker Mayfield in this game playing hurt with that shoulder. 64.3 overall grade. On the Arizona side of things, edge rusher Josh Sweat with a 79.2. Wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. back in the lineup. Finished with a 75.3. Cornerback Denzel Burke a 75.0. Safety Jalen Thompson a 72.3. And then offensive guard Isaiah Adams with a 72.1. Quarterback Jacoby Brissett, 73.7 overall grade in this one. Dalton?
This game was kind of ugly, Trevor.
This was not a good game.
Weird,
not
ugly.
Not a lot of good football in this game.
Weird, ugly, mistake-filled game, I think, especially for the Bucs in the first half. Didn't it feel like every time they did something right, oh, there's a holding penalty. Oh, there's a pass interference, offensive pass interference. Oh, so Chris Godwin drops a touchdown in the end zone, right? And then for the Cardinals, it's kind of been the microcosm of their whole season, right? Where to me, the big thing in this game, the reason the Cardinals just barely didn't win this game was they don't finish drives. And there's been a lot of times this year where they haven't finished drives with touchdowns, right? You look at an interception inside the Buccaneers' 20-yard line. You look at the Bam Knight fumble in Bucs territory. Missed a 43-yard field goal. 3 for 10 on 3rd and 4th down. I just think this kind of felt to me like an ugly game both ways. But the Cardinals lost this one again the same way they've been losing every single week. They just don't finish drives. They just don't finish games. And then at the end, the final drive was just way too conservative, not taking shots downfield. The only other thing I'll say is Todd Bowles, when he did ramp up the pressure on Jacoby Brissett looked a bit uncomfortable, I thought. When he sent 4, I thought Brissett looked comfortable, but that's been a theme for the Bucs all year too, is that they don't really get a whole lot of pressure without blitzing, so Bowles has to figure out the optimal times to blitz the opposing quarterback. But I think at the end of the day here, this is just about the Arizona Cardinals once again. For me, despite the Bucs playing nowhere near their best game, they played a C football game in this one. I mean, there was a lot of
on
mistakes.
Offense, for sure. Defensive line actually played pretty well altogether. Like Logan Hall actually had a really good game. Yaya Diaby played well. You see Vita Vea on that top 5 list. Like I thought the defensive line played well in this game, but for the most part, you're right. It was a subpar showing from Tampa, which is why honestly the stat that told the story for me is very simple. Field position. Tampa had 1 drive start at the 50-yard line for them, which I believe they got points off of. And then they had 1 drive start at Arizona's 39-yard line when they went for it on 4th down and they stopped them, which they also got points off of that one. So in a game that was a 3-point game in the end, it was those 2 drives that started in neutral or plus position for them that they were able to gain points. I know at least one of them was a field goal that they had. The other one might have been a missed field goal. I can't remember off the top of my head. But them getting plus field position, I think, was truly what made all the difference in the world here in this game. It's been disappointing for the Buccaneers, but they are getting healthier. And I see a lot of Bucs fans talk about this on Twitter, and this is true. You don't love using injuries as an excuse. Like, it's no fun, right? I mean, like, when the team doesn't play well, it's hard to just go like, yeah, well, they're hurt. Even if it's the truth. Even if it's the complete truth in the matter. But there is a reality where this Bucs team is as healthy as they will have been all season with 3 weeks to go in the regular season. Mike Evans coming back. Bucky Irvin getting back in the mix. Hopefully Baker Mayfield is a little bit more healthy. Chris Godwin actually looked the closest to the real Chris Godwin in this game. I know he had some uncharacteristic drops, but he looked, at least movement-wise, as close to he normally looks for the Buccaneers in this game. So you're encouraged by that. Jalen McMillan's coming back. Jamel Dean, obviously Hassan Reddick getting back into the mix for them as well. Like, they are getting healthier, and so you hope that the last handful of games they're going to be as healthy as they've ever been, and it'll be interesting because they play Carolina in 3 out of the last 2 weeks of the season. But It's disappointing right now for them, but there is reason to believe that it's going to get better for this team.
It's got that feel, possibly, of what we saw 2 years ago in Baker Mayfield's first season. That year, they won 3 out of 4. Then they lost 6 out of 7.
Right.
Then they surged into the playoffs and beat Philadelphia in the playoffs. It has that feel, whereas last year it felt like they were more consistent. This year, look, injuries and playing a lot of good teams all in a row, losing 4 out of 5 here recently before this game. Now you get into a softer part of your schedule, even though 4 of your last 5 games are in the division. But you mentioned it. Get healthy, and I think in this game, at least if they're healthier, now they just got to come off this game and look at the tape and go, you know what, we just got to execute a little bit better, because I saw between just mistakes that were wiping points off the board, or you kind of had that thing where it was like 10 guys would do their job and then one guy would screw it up, because offensively that's how it works. If 1 out of the 11 guys screws it up, then something goes wrong. That's what it felt like in this game, but they grinded through it. They got to win against a feistier than their record Cardinals team, and they should be given credit for that. Now they set themselves up, obviously, with the Panthers getting this win, too, against the Rams for a couple of huge matchups later in the season.
Yeah, my one takeaway for the Cardinals is actually something that you guys can see over at Premium Stats if you have a PFF Plus subscription. I wanted to take a look at Isaiah Adams, who was in the top 5 for their graded players on this one, which you guys can see right there. This is the Premium Stats page. You go to the Bucs and Cardinals game. You go straight to offense, and then you can see all the grades that they have for those players right there. You see Isaiah Adams, one of the top graded players, and he has 72.1 overall PFF grade, and then he had that 73.7 specifically run blocking grade. I thought that he was pretty good in this game when it came to getting out of his stance, getting on the move, those reach blocks, those mid and outside zone blocks. I thought he did a really good job in that. And so, to me, the question with the Cardinals right now is they're obviously not making the playoffs. Like, this year is what it is. You're just trying to get to next offseason. I think you're really evaluating this roster to see who do you want in the starting lineup on the current team next year. And I think this is an important game for Adams because he's always been a fringe player for me. Paris Johnson Jr., entrenched as their left tackle. But then it's like, okay, do you want to bring any of the interior offensive linemen back? I think Evan Brown's really struggled as one of the offensive guards. I don't think he's going to be a starter for them next year. Yalda Froldholt has been fine, and so if you want to bring him back at center, I don't have a problem with that, but if you can upgrade, you'll probably look to do that. Isaiah Adams is the one where I go, all right, you're on a rookie contract, you're doing some things well, and if you click on his player profile, if you guys wanted to go like even deeper into that, you can see like the last 5 or 6 games, like he has graded decently well. He's stringing along some pretty good games here. And so maybe he is a player who you feel good about bringing back. And maybe there's, 2 out of 3 players. Oh, yeah, you can see it right there. Like since week 5 was that last game that he played really well. He missed a little bit of time due to injury, but since he's come back, you see those run blocking scores are pretty good for him. So I think he's putting together some good tape here down the stretch. If he continues to do this, he's probably one of those players that I'd end up bringing back in an offensive line that I think is paramount for them to fix and optimize going into that 2027 season.
It's the idea.
2026 season.
It's the idea for all of the teams that are out of the playoff race already. You use these last 5-6 games to figure out who the keepers are, right? We see that with several teams with losing records, and the Cardinals need to do that. You mentioned, especially on this offensive line, having to figure out how many resources they need to use on this offensive line, because we already might have a quarterback question, right? But I would argue the second most important position unit is that O-line, and you've mentioned it before. Paris Johnson looks like the only surefire keeper right now. He's obviously really good at left tackle, but they got to figure out the rest of that unit no matter who their quarterback is going to be. If Adams can continue to play like he's played the last few weeks, maybe that's an option for him going into next year.